Hello there and welcome. Today's video, we're going to talk about why people stay busy, but yet unchanged. And it's like, do you ever notice that? How they stay busy, how they are always promoting the information, they're always posting their morning routine, they're always showing they're doing what it's necessary. They're attending events, they're posting, right? Again, they're doing what's necessary, but nothing really changes. They read, they scroll, they attend, they memorize, but their results barely move month over month. So in this video, we're going to talk about why that happens. Most of us, because of the society we're in, we're trained in what is called trivia loop. This is where we were taught to recall facts, memorize things, regurgitate information very quickly, respond very quickly. Whoever got the answer first won. And we created this society of what is called trivia loop. Kids practicing reacting as quickly as possible to screens, to stimuli, to direction, and they are not creating, they're following, right? I don't want a nation of thinkers, I want a nation of workers. Go look that quote up. So these habits build mental activity. They're doing stuff. They got to think, they got to follow directions. But again, this is called mental activity. Very little causation, very little conscious creation. And that's really what today's video is going to be about, around floating and conscious creation. The system, specifically the education system, then rewards them based on what they see, based on the evidence, based on the test scores. You scored a 90 or a 95, therefore you must really know the information. On the contrary, another student scored a 60 or 70, they must have no idea how this works. But then it's the report card, right? Then it's the quarterly grades, the yearly performance, and we look at these results and then say, this is the level of awareness that this child or this student has. Meanwhile, their higher faculties, memory, perception, will, intuition, reason, they get little training or no training at all. I mean, I went through education all the way into university, and I was never taught the higher faculties. You likely never were taught the higher faculties either. Because why? The system was not designed for that, to think, to create, to be a conscious creator. Most people, as this quote famously says, are enslaved by daily trivia. They wake up, they start the engine, and they just go idea to idea, task to task, engaged in mental activity. Yes, obviously they're operating their day, but they are not thinking. They're not consciously creating their life by design. So many people grow up and never change this. They're always responding and dependent on what the senses are saying. Why? That's how it was in school, so that's how it must be at work. The sales, the calls, the conversion, the percentage, the reports, the graphs, that must determine the level of awareness that this person has. Again, this is responding to conditions, not setting them. We're saying based on these month's results compared to last month's results, we're making decisions based on that, but we're not setting it. So what we have to understand, again, 95 to 97% of this world operate a certain way. The other 3% operate with certain information. Most people operate by the senses. They live by what is physically in their world, by what they see, smell, hear, taste, and touch. They let those things, the evidence, dictate their beliefs, determine their identity, and say, that must be who they are. But on the contrary, right, going from physical to spiritual, because again, living through the senses is living in the physical. Living through the higher faculties is living through the spiritual. So moving to that spiritual side and understanding and living through these higher faculties, reason, intuition, will, memory, you originate cause. You determine the first cause substance. You become the thermostat and not the thermometer. Because again, listen, go throughout your day today. Maybe you go to the bank, maybe you go to the grocery store, maybe you go to the gym, maybe you go to work, and just observe people and say, is that person consciously thinking right now? As they just stare at their phone in the elevator, as they stand in line for coffee, as they just are kind of standing there staring there. Do you think they're actually sitting there saying, what do I want? Where am I going? What actions am I taking today? How am I moving the needle forward? You will sit there and be like, no, definitely not. I mean, what's no? They're just sitting there allowing distractions and stimuli to create mental activity. So understand this. Go throughout your day with this in mind of people engaged in mental activity, 97%. People who think, 3%. And again, I think those proportions are even more drastic, likely like 99% and 1%. So they don't even know this information exists. They can't articulate it. They don't know spiritual and physical. They don't know senses and higher faculties. They're just doing the best they can. How many times have you heard that? I'm just doing the best I can. And we need to commend them for that. Good job. Here's the truth that nobody will tell you. Sometimes your best is not good enough. You must do what's required. And that is the reality, again, that most people are not ready to accept. You can sit there and say, I'm doing my best. I'm trying. And some bosses will say, good job. We see your effort. We're going to reward you for trying. The boss may do it. This world does not. You have to get the result. There's certain levels of just trying and efforting and just going through the motions. It just doesn't cut it when you get to certain levels of awareness. If you are not consciously creating, odds are you're surrounded by non-creators. Again, look around your environment. Look around your workplace. Look around where you live, where you work, where you shop. And again, observe. Most people are not consciously aware of this information. Communities of people who do not think will keep you average. Wow. We've heard the famous phrase, right? Show me your 5 best friends and I'll show you your future. You're the average of your 5 closest friends. Well, your community is proximity to where you are, is a reflection of kind of your belief system. So communities of people who do not think, right? Groups of people are group paradigm. They will keep you average. So that's where you need to make a decision. You need to cut off certain tendencies, certain groups, certain influences that are no longer serving you. So don't overlook this, guys. I encourage you to study the laws and faculties every day. Start tracking your behavior. Start tracking your beliefs. Start tracking your feelings. What makes you feel good? What makes you feel bad? When do you feel the best? And join a community. That is probably my number one thing that I can advocate for, is you're likely not going to be able to do this alone. Your paradigm is too strong. Your immediate environment of non-creators is likely programmed a certain way and is too strong. Your workplace, they're not teaching you this information when you get onboarded into a new position. So you need to kind of counteract all this with community, with the system, with accountability. That's where most people fail. They make a decision, it sounds good, but they just are not consistent enough to get the results. That's where Apex Mastery comes in. That's where this community helps keep you on track. That's what it's designed to do. So I encourage you to partner with a community like that. And secondary, the Mindset Reset program. Again, so this is a system. Number one is a community. Number two is a system. I encourage you to enroll in the inner circle, because that is the community that you will be a part of. But then the system. 120 videos, 12 sections, intentional. It's structured from video 1 through video 120 with intention, with a workbook as well. That system will guide you, teach you, train you, and coach you on how to reset this mind for success. So if what I've shared today resonates with you, if you want to learn more about how to implement this on a regular basis, it's time to make a decision. It's time to stop being busy with meaningless activity. I find myself doing that often. I sit there and I'll have a check. Is this actually moving the needle forward, or is it just busy work? Am I selling a product? Am I selling a service? Am I promoting a product? Am I promoting a service? Am I following up? Am I moving the needle forward, or just doing meaningless activity? Really start to critique which activities move the needle forward and do not. Use your higher faculties. Learn about them. We teach them within the Mindset Reset program. I believe it's section 5, where we go through every single higher faculty, and we facilitate it to you. So decide something real. Even if it's something small, decide today. Because your life doesn't change with more information. It won't change with just another video. Your life will change when you change. I look forward to seeing you in the next video. You've got a decision right now. You can click away and keep playing the same mental loop, or you can join us and break the pattern. Guys, the Mindset Reset Masterclass is free, and it's the turning point that you've been waiting for.